That was the moment I started doing some research, which was around 3 years ago, and surprisingly enough, globally, there was no platform yet that would make it easy for organizations to find and work with independent consultants, and that is what Dazzle is facilitating these days.
Amazing, and I can attest to that as well, Robert. Like being on the other side, working with some of our clients, constantly they're asking for support from sustainability professionals, and it's been really hard for us to find sustainability professionals. What I love about Dazzle is the fact that you pre-screen freelancers, and you're actually training and enabling and equipping these freelancers to succeed and enable other corporations for success. Hello, welcome to Sustainability Voices, the podcast dedicated to exploring the impactful stories behind the voices driving sustainable change. I'm Patrick Obeid, founder of a climate tech startup and your host for this series. In today's episode, we will explore the importance of sustainability freelancing with Robert Smith from Dazzle. Stay tuned as we uncover various facets of sustainability, voice by voice. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, Robert Smith, founder of Dazzle. Dazzle is a global community of pre-screened sustainability freelancers that enables organizations to scale their teams on demand. There is no better time to have Dazzle in the world, given the scarcity of sustainability leaders and the very high demand that corporates have for these sustainability leaders. Robert, I'm very excited to have you on board. Would love perhaps to start with a quick intro. Tell us a bit more about your background and why you started Dazzle.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm really excited to be on the show. For sure, I can tell you a bit more about myself. So I'm the founder of Dazzle. We are an organization that operates globally, matching world's best sustainability freelancers with organizations. I am Dutch. We are located in the Netherlands as well. Started my sustainability career, let's say, a few years back when I joined quite a traditional sustainability consulting firm. And after working there for a few years, I had a few observations. Let's start with the first observation, where I was obviously working at this sustainability consulting firm, as I mentioned, and we were working with clients globally. And one of the things that I identified in a lot of conversations that I was having with our clients is that consulting, or the world of consulting, and especially the big four consulting firms, often are associated with high cost. And I thought, if a company commits to sustainability is a good thing, and if they want external help, it should also be financially accessible, and it should be easy to find good sustainability consultants. And my other observation was more from an internal perspective. So I was working at this firm, and a lot of my direct colleagues were making the transition towards freelancing, which I found very interesting from multiple standpoints, to work with the clients they like working with, to work in sustainability for certain industries, from a financial standpoint. So I had these different observations where it was a bit expensive for organizations to get help on external help in their sustainability journey, and also a lot of consultants who were in full-time employment making a transition towards freelancing. And that was the moment I started doing some research, which was around 3 years ago, and surprisingly enough, globally, there was no platform yet that would make it easy for organizations to find and work with independent consultants, and that is what Dazzle is facilitating these days.
Amazing, and I can attest to that as well, Robert. Like being on the other side, working with some of our clients, constantly they're asking for support from sustainability professionals, and it's been really hard for us to find sustainability professionals. What I love about Dazzle is the fact that you pre-screen freelancers, and you're actually training and enabling and equipping these freelancers to succeed and enable other corporations for success. Perhaps one question that I have is, as you got started a few years ago, what were some of the preliminary or early gaps that you identified in the market that inspired you to create this network? Basically, what are some of the problems that corporations were trying to solve and were not able to solve with their existing talent in-house, and were looking for external talent to solve those?
I think sustainability has all these seasonalities. So there's this period of reporting, which a lot of consulting firms call reporting season, which starts from, let's say, October until March or even May or June for some organizations, depending on their financial year. There are these different ESG ratings and certifications. And previously, sustainability was mostly focused on environment. And then when you hired a sustainability or an environmental manager, it was often doable for this professional to cover all the topics within the role. But now sustainability has become such a broad topic with a lot of different expertise needed. As I mentioned, from reporting with the standards such as the GRI, for example, regulatory compliance, obviously the CSRD in Europe, but also now coming the CS Triple D, specific rating certifications such as an EcoVadis or Climate Disclosure Project (CDP). It requires a lot of specialized knowledge as well. So the gap that we saw, to answer your question, Patrick, is how can we help sustainability managers out there by creating, sort of a flexible layer of specialized independent consultants around them that can help them on demand, only for the hours needed, and when a specialism is needed during the seasonality, let's say. We created this terminology for it, which is called staff on demand. So our clients, which are located globally, mostly in Europe and United States, we help them with specialized staff on demand whenever they need help with a specialized topic within their sustainability journey.
That's very inspiring, Robert. One more question that comes to mind is maybe looking forward. So we were looking back and understanding the last 3 years and how it kind of inspired you to create Dazzle. Perhaps looking forward, how do you envision the demand for sustainability freelancers changing? For example, up until now, it's been a lot of reporting and compliance, as you said. I'm sure there are a lot of other demand as well that came up in the last few years. But maybe looking forward, where do you think the demand would be?
Yeah, I think overall, the sustainability manager role is slowly shifting towards a more of a reporting role, which is also why we often see, if there's even no sustainability manager yet at SMEs, the CFO, for example, is responsible for sustainability, as they are used to financial reporting, and obviously sustainability is non-financial reporting. But where do I see it moving to is more and more support on from a regulatory perspective. So CSRD is obviously huge. So I expect in the coming years that there will be a lot of demand for CSRD consultants, independent consultants who have done this before at other organizations and can share their learnings and lessons at the companies who need to report in wave 2, 3, 4 that is coming. As well as communications, I read recently an article, greenwashing is the next CSRD, which I also find super interesting. Sustainability communications. If you have complied with CSRD, for example, or you're working already on sustainability for years, how do you make sure you communicate your efforts correctly towards both your, let's say, externally towards your clients, suppliers, investors, but also towards your own employees? I think that's also a very interesting topic for the years ahead, and much more with annual reports, rating, certifications. But I think the regulatory compliance element will be big, and also communications will be a big one.
All great points, Robert. Just taking a step back, perhaps just maybe to add a few insights to this conversation. As I talk to sustainability leaders, whether they're sustainability reporting specialists or chief sustainability officers, the first question I ask them is, how many hats do you wear? Right? Because the finance department in an organization is so well defined today because over the last decades, the finance industry has grown to become more and more mature with the rise of regulations like SOX, for example, in the United States and beyond. And I think we're witnessing the very beginning of the same, I call it revolution or transformation that the world is going through. And the first question I always ask is, how many hats do you wear? And I often get at least three, some wear even five. Communication being one of them, as you said. Finance being another one, Robert, as you said. Another one is like transformation. Some of is facility management or real estate management or asset management. Um, Regulatory compliance is another one. Decarbonization management is another one. As you can imagine, each one of those is a full-time job. So I empathize with sustainability leaders globally, and if they ever need an extra hand, they know where to go to. Dazzle. Perhaps one more question I have around how you built this network of freelancers. Maybe would love to maybe start all the way in the beginning, 3 years ago when you started hiring your first freelancers. What were some of the challenges that you faced early on, and what were some of these aha moments that you had as you were building Dazzle?
Yeah. It's a good question, and by the way, super interesting question as well as you asked to all the sustainability managers you're speaking to. I think that that's something that's very recognizable with all the different hats they're wearing. But to zoom in a bit on Dazzle and especially the beginning phase. So when Dazzle started, one of the first things I did was finding good freelancers because we could not approach organizations to work with Dazzle, the Dazzle community, if we don't have any good freelancers. So one of the first things we did was find freelancers. And as I worked for this consulting firm and have been in the field for sustainability for a few years prior to launching Dazzle, I've participated on some sustainability conferences. I knew already, let's say, a few hands full of good sustainability freelancers. So that already helped. That was a first start. And then also those people already knew quite a lot of freelancers themselves. They were all in their all small WhatsApp groups or communities. So that went actually quite fast. In the first, let's say, 6 months or so, I believe we received over 300 applications of sustainability freelancers located globally. But very quickly, Dazzle, we made the decision to not onboard every single freelancer into our network, but screen them, vet them before we allow them into our network or our community. So we built this vetting process with first they have to fill in an online self-assessment to tell a bit more about themselves, their references, their problem-solving skills. And then as a second step, if the profile seems interesting to us, we invited them for an interview and a case study to also assess and question both their hard and soft skills as an independent consultant. And then if everything seems to be positive for us and we would feel extremely confident to match them with our clients, and back then potential clients because we had none, only then they were allowed into our community. So we had to put a lot of emphasis on finding those people and screening them. And in year one, we had at one point a pool of around 70 freelancers, and today it's more than 150, which we are pretty confident to cover a lot of different aspects within sustainability and to speak to clients. But to also explain a bit more on how that went is this freelancing search and identifying our way of working took 10 months or so, and only after 10 months we signed our first client. So there was quite a period from resigning from the consulting firm to building Dazzle as a brand and organization, to finding freelancers, vetting them, and only then, when we felt confident, we stepped towards the first organizations and signed our first clients 10 months in, which took quite some time.
Absolutely, getting the first cohort of clients always takes time,
Yeah.
Robert. But what a beautiful success story, and what a fast growth as well. One thing that can get lost as you're growing that fast is the quality of your screening process and the quality of your
Yeah,
freelancers.
true.
Would love to hear a bit more about that. Like, how were you able to maintain that quality? What screening process did you use over the last few years to vet freelancers? How did that change over time as well?
Yeah. Yeah, so the screening process I just highlighted is actually how we do it today. So that's actually not completely fair. So how we did it in the beginning was that we just did it based on a questionnaire, and that was obviously not enough. So there was some risk for us in still, we didn't know 100% sure if those were the right people to be matched with our clients. So that is definitely something we improved. So how we do it today, and it's continuous improvement, 100%. But how we do it today is, since it's such an important cornerstone of Dazzle's success and business model, is first of all we hired a Dazzle community manager. Farah is her name. We're extremely happy to have her on board. She's a star. She worked for 3 out of the 4 big 4 consultancies as a sustainability manager and a sustainability consultant. Extremely knowledgeable, also in depth on the different sustainability topics. And she's responsible for doing the interviews now. Farah has developed this process. So first the online self-assessment for freelancers to learn more about them as a person, their values, their problem-solving skills. Then this interview where we assess their hard and soft skills, and only then we allow them into the community where they can be matched with our clients. So that takes a lot of time and constant feedback loops also from the freelancers we interview. But it's definitely worth it, because now when a client comes to us and they have a request, we can move very fast because we know the freelancers that we have in our network are top quality.
An amazing story, Robert. I'm going to ask you a tough question now. The tough question is the top 1% of your talent. What differentiates those from the rest in terms of capabilities, skills, values? Perhaps maybe to rephrase the question, what are some of these top 1% skills that you look for as you're screening candidates? What differentiates those from the others?
Well, it's a very good question. I think also a lesson that we learned, when I say we, it's Farah and myself as well in the last months, is there's a big difference between a sustainability expert and a good sustainability, or a top 1%, as you say, Patrick, top 1% sustainability freelancer. And this is also the answer to your question. A top 1% sustainability freelancer has not only the knowledge and the expertise when it comes to the sustainability topics, but also has the capabilities to communicate well, to convince clients during meetings, to present their report presentations in an engaging and interactive way, has also the necessary soft skills overall to perform well on projects, project management skills, having the capability to lead a project independently, also when it's a bit more difficult with clients and they're not engaging. Being able to manage stakeholders within the client's firm when they're not really engaged with the project, or they do not understand why they need to collect certain data, for example. So there's much more than only having the expertise to become a top 1% freelancer, in our opinion. And that's where it really gets to the soft skills, how to present yourself, and being able to communicate well. I think those are the traits of a top 1% freelancer in my experience.
Love the answer, Robert. It actually inspired me to add one more thought that I didn't add earlier, which is another hat that sustainability leaders wear is change management, right? Because this is such a new
Yeah.
topic, and in many organizations, they're fighting either like downhill or uphill battles, depending on who they report to and what type of hats do they wear, the mission statement of the company itself. And I totally agree with you. I mean, I can tell you from our end, implementing software with companies could not be harder if you don't have the internal buy-in from the executives. And sometimes, in addition to driving change and implementing reporting or implementing platforms, you're also spending time driving change management. And as you know, this is such an important topic in some organizations where this is a board level discussion in most cases, where the CEO is sometimes directly or indirectly involved. So really good points, Robert.
It's very interesting, and it's also sometimes tough, because we have this strict screening. There are great experts who are applying, but as Dazzle, we're looking for the full picture, and also those soft skills are just crucial. Understanding, and there are many more topics that separates the top 1%. So one more thought that comes to mind is also keeping in mind the business reality of the client. Not wearing always wearing the green glasses is a good thing, but also keeping in mind the ambition level of the client and what the business reality is. But we can talk about this for hours, but it's super interesting.
Absolutely. I'd love to dig in a bit more on the services that you provide around the world. And I know you mentioned you have a global network now, which is amazing. As you can imagine, covering such a broad geographic reach will require you to invest in finding freelancers in different countries with different languages that can support different frameworks. Yeah, tell me a bit more about your geographic reach. Where do you have most of your talent today, and where do you have most of your customers today as well?
Yeah. Most of our freelancers are located in Europe. However, in not in a specific country, so we are really spread across Europe. We also have, yeah, I think around 30 freelancers or so being located in the United States, and then a handful in Asia and the Middle East, and a few in South Africa as well. And our clients are mostly located in Europe and the United States, and then we have two clients in the Middle East. So that's a bit of the division. And yeah, more about the community is the freelancers are in around 40 countries, more than 50 languages that they speak, and we are now at a bit over 150 members of the community.
That is fantastic, Robert. I'd love to double click on a success story or a couple of success stories that you'd like to share. Specifically, what are some of the most impactful projects that you've served or some of your freelancers have served in the last few years?
Yeah, sure. And it also actually to answer your previous question, I will do it. I will do both in one answer. It's on what types of projects we help our clients on. In the types of collaboration, on what are the options, we help clients in two different collaboration formats. One is project based, so with a very clear start and a very clear end deliverable, such as calculating a carbon footprint, scope 1 and 2, or helping with the submission of their EcoVadis assessment. And the second option is interim management. So when a sustainability manager knows a busy period is coming and is looking for a specialized freelancer to help 2 days a week for the next 6 months or so. Or, for example, maternity cover is also something we do a lot for our clients. And speaking about specific success stories, two examples come to mind. First one is for the Deutsche Fußballbund, which is the German Football Association. So in the industry of sports, we help them with organizing the finals of the DFB Pokal, so the league finals of the football competition for both men and women, to organize it in the most sustainable way. And one of our freelancers has been involved with the FIFA World Cup for a year, so that was obviously a perfect match to help the client. And that was really a project-based collaboration. So with a very clear start and a very clear end goal to achieve, which was literally the date on when both football matches were organized for both men and. And the other example is one of the largest parcel or post delivery companies in the world, who is working on their CSRD trajectory, hired Dazzle as they had a very specific request, really a skill gap for ESRS E1 to E5, so the environmental part of CSRD, where they were looking for a specialized freelancer who could help them with the implementation and the development of and updating of policies. And a Dazzle freelancer joined their team for, I believe, 2 days a week for an X amount of months. So this is an example of an interim project where, yeah, a Dazzle freelancer can be impactful to help, yeah, such an exciting organizations organizing their CSRD journey. And there are many other success stories. One more is the maternity cover of the sustainability director of the United States Polo Association, global licensing. So there, the sustainability director went on maternity leave, and one of our freelancers covered her role for a period of 7 months or so when she was out of office. So those are just a few examples of projects that we help our clients with.
Amazing stories. Actually, Robert, it's funny that you mentioned this. When I was working back at Bain& and Company, I was
Yeah.
actually working in, yeah, one of the projects I did was related to the FIFA World Cup, but a few years back when
Oh, really? Okay. Cool.
the government of Qatar was basically
Yes,
thinking
exactly.
about
Yeah.
basically thinking about whether to like electrify their buses for the FIFA World Cup or
Yeah,
go with
exactly.
natural gas buses. So, very interesting that how the world is so small and our worlds are so interconnected.
Yeah.
but amazing stories. I also like the parcel delivery one. I can imagine with parcel last mile parcel delivery company, or just the parcel delivery company in general, would have so much data, right? Because they sometimes have like thousands, if not millions, of
Yeah.
vehicles, and gathering that data can be really complex. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine the level of impact that you've created for these organizations. Well, that was great. Maybe just perhaps let's turn the lens a bit towards organizations. For organizations out there looking to leverage your network, what's the best way to get started, and who should they reach out to?
Yes, if organizations are looking for help, they can simply reach out to Dazzle via our website. We have there are two options. We really like and find important that the human aspect stays in for Dazzle. So there are always two options. Some organizations prefer to directly upload their brief on our website if they have a very clear scope of work already defined with their team, and they just want to submit their brief on our website and request profiles. That is absolutely one option. And the other option is to book a call with our team. And we're happy to speak to the organization to help also scope their needs. Perhaps they have multiple requests, or I can imagine when it comes to, for example, maternity cover, that you would like to speak to someone from Dazzle to help scope and understand how we work. So that's those are the two options via our website, and you can directly submit your request, or schedule a one-on-one call with our team, which is always a good thing, I believe.
Thank you. Super useful, Robert. I have two more questions, and yeah, I'd love to just take a step back and think a bit more about the vision, the mission statement. Perhaps my first question is, fast forward, today is November 21, 2030. You look back at the last decade, and you're still growing Dazzle. What does success look like for you?
It's a very good question. I'm actually defining my OKRs now for next year, so it's a very relevant timing. We want to be world's biggest platform where organizations can find the best independent sustainability talent out there. So that's definitely the mission. And from a commercial perspective, it's super important to have good freelance and a strong community, but also from a impact and connecting point of view, we really want to build a strong online community for sustainability professionals out there. If I would look back in 10 years' time, I would be extremely proud. Which will happen is that we would have also the largest online sustainability community out there for independent professionals serving clients globally, and also giving for example, also giving freelancers in countries with not too many opportunities, the possibility to work, for example, with companies from other countries, for example, from Europe, are a bit more mature nowadays on sustainability. So giving people the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals, building the biggest community when it comes to sustainability freelancers, and helping clients globally becoming more sustainable. So that would be
That's awesome, Robert. You actually answered both questions that I had. My second question was around what's next for Dazzle next year, and it seems like you know exactly where you need to go and you're heading in the right direction. So that's amazing. So grateful for this conversation, Robert. I love hearing such success stories and such like hyper growth as well. Thank you for this. I hope we continue to work together over the coming years. And yeah, for everyone listening, you know who to go to and how to reach out to Dazzle. Yeah, and also Robert, I love the name Dazzle. Such a creative name as well.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for the invitation. I really love what you do as well. So I really appreciate the invitation, and yeah, I'm looking forward to making more impact together. And thank you for everyone who listened in. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robert. Have a wonderful day, everyone. This is the Sustainability Voices podcast. You can find all episodes of the show at esgflo.com, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and Apple Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd like for you to subscribe to stay connected. I look forward to welcoming you on the next episode of Sustainability Voices. My name is Patrick Obeid. You can find me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening.